Hi everyone, welcome to Creating with Ali. Today I am mixing up another batch of ResinCrete. Now if you don't know what ResinCrete is, make sure that you check back on one of my other videos, but with this I'm mixing, actually it's probably not a very good mixer, hang on a second. So 300 grams of ResinCrete with 100 grams of water is what I have in this cup. And the reason why I am making up another batch is because I have a whole bunch of these silicone molds that I bought for when I was working with paper dry clay, and I really want to see what this might look like in some of those molds. So I'm going to give it a bit of a test run. So just to make sure that this is mixed up well. You get about 10 minutes working time when you use this stuff, and once it's mixed and it's looking really watery just like this, it's right to begin adding into your molds. So I'm just going to pop that one back to the side. Right, so these are the molds that I'm talking about. These are the ones that I purchased from TEMU, and I've got a whole bunch of them, and I thought it'd be really interesting to see how far I can make this stretch for one, and to see what these molds might look like. So if you're wanting to stick around and have a look, we'll see if we've got enough to try one of these really thin sort of paper ones. I don't think that's going to work though for that one, but these might. So I might even do another poinsettia, which if I got a little bit more left over. So I think I might start down here with some of this Christmas one, and I'm just going to carefully pour. All right, let's see what kind of mess I've made when these are all set. All right, these have had a whole day, so let's see how we went. So get them out just very gently. We'll see if we can get them out without them breaking. So this one I really love. You would have seen this before on the channel. Absolutely love that one. Let's go with the bigger coaster here. This is the wood. Now that's really quite thin, but it's turned out pretty good. Now, Christmas trees. Let's try the Christmas trees. Yeah, these look pretty good. These would work out really well if you are putting them into a frame or something, which I might do with these ones. So there we go, there's one tree. Lots of really great detail on these. So far, these have worked really well. Now, the extra bit of ResinCrete, it just comes off really quickly, so it's not a big deal. These don't need to be cleaned or anything. So far, we're good. All right, so there we go. We have the trees. Let's go with this one here. This one I was a little bit interested to see what happens here. Now, I did have quite a bit of ResinCrete over the top. All right, now that's come out okay. Just need to break away those bits that are just those smaller bits that are in the thing. Might have to poke at that a little bit. What have I got to poke at it with? Hang on a second. Yeah, there we go. Just maybe poke at this with a little bit of, there we go. So this has turned out quite delicate. I'm just very gently trying not to break any, oh, there we go, I broke a branch, that's okay. But you can see, I don't know if I'll be able to get into that one in there. Probably not. That's not too bad. Looks like a very spooky tree. That'd go well in a very spooky type scene. But that one, a little bit frail, and I think if I did that one again, I'd make sure that I didn't have any excess over the top. So, as you know, when I was doing this, I was using that powder pop stick. So I'm going to have a similar issue with some of the other ones here because I've done the same thing with that. Okay, let's have a look. Some of these flowers. I mean, wow. It's so good, so pretty. If you think if you're using paper clay, very, very hard to push it in there and then maintain the shape. Even the little one. That is pretty cool. Got lots of little ones here actually, little tiny ones, and they've all worked. So those flower ones, definitely. Good job. All right, again, oops. Oh, there was another one. They might need a bit of a brush over just to clean them out. Right. Now, I don't know how this one's going to go. I tried this one with clay and I had no success at all. But with ResinCrete, let's see how we go. Yeah, this is really good. Now, I do have this very thin layer over the top because I went too high in the pouring of, but the detail is really great. So if I can actually just break those bits off very gently. There we go. I've got those antlers there. Terrific. Nice and Christmassy antlers. And again, just really carefully, I'm just sticking my fingernail in there and breaking that away. You wouldn't normally have to do this, like I said, but happy with that. Now these pendants should work out really fine. There we go. This was when the mix got really quite thick. Didn't know how that was going to go. But probably the only thing with these little pendants is how thin they are, but then again, you don't want anything hanging where that is too thick. Like a big chunky piece of resin or something like that that's like this thick is not very appealing to have. All right, so this is why when you're doing the ResinCrete, to get it in the mold before it starts to get a little bit chunky. There's a bow and a dog bone because it doesn't quite get to the edges. That's not the fault of the ResinCrete, that's mine because I didn't get in fast enough. All right, bit of rubbish. Again, here's another one. Another antler. How good have these come out? I'm really loving this. Looks great. Really good for decorative features. Then we have the little snowflake. Tiny snowflake, and even the tiny ones have worked out really well. Christmas tree looks wonderful. All right, we'll leave the big one till last. Let's see what happened. These were really thin ones in the mold, so really you can see how thin that is. They do need a little bit of tidying up. There's a leaf. Might have a bit of trouble getting those ones apart because there's way too much on there. Yep, so I'm not too worried about that. And then we had, yep, and a couple of other, there's the little berries. And I think that these, yep, they're also little berries. You can paint these ones up, and you can do a little bit of a Christmas type branch. And they just ranged. That one wasn't poured right to the top. Okay, so a few berries there. And lastly, we had these decorative edges. So let's see what these look like. Way cool. These are going to turn out really well again if you're wanting to put them on a frame. Flat surface is good for these so that you don't get the turned up ends, but if you just press gently, if it breaks, it's okay. Again, I'm not fussy. Look at that one. So decorative. I'm really impressed with how the ResinCrete has performed in amongst these molds. It's done a great job. You can see it's got a bit of a curve in it. So if I am trying to glue that onto something, I'm just going to press it down like that. Yes, I know that I've broken it, but you're not going to be able to see that when you put some paint and stuff over the top of it. But it'll keep it nice and flat. So there you have it, guys, my little ResinCrete experiment with some of these silicone molds that I had for my clay. Really quite pleased with how they've turned out, and I can see how I might be able to use some of these items in a bit of a project. And ResinCrete, amazing stuff. If you haven't had a play with it, definitely have a little bit of a look-see. Just a word of warning, it's very addictive. So this is the casting powder that I use. It's a SolidCrete by Solid Solutions. I'm not sponsored by them at all, and I find that this has been working absolutely wonderful, and I'll continue buying from Solid Solutions. I haven't tried any of the stuff from TEMU. I'm assuming that it could be potentially the same, but I've had no problems or issues with this, so I'm going to stay with this brand itself. And I've managed to use that in so many different molds that I've purchased. These were some of the letters that I made in a previous video as well, which I can glue on for another project. So I do need to do some more of the letters because I didn't have every letter there for Santa, because the mold that I have, and the mold that you probably get as well, doesn't have double ups of the vowels. and you need lots of those for when you are creating a project. But I did manage to get the word of joy out of that as well. Oh, yep, a lot of fun, and it does allow you to save a little bit. So if you're buying embellishments from the $1 shop, for example, to make up Christmas decorations or what have you, if you had something like this, you could put this on a tag and it would save you. You could just keep remaking them and doubling them up. You could just use something like this on a tag. It just means you've got to keep pouring it, but you know what? It's cheap enough that you'd probably, for a bag like that, and oh God, you'd end up with so many of them. The only thing is that you would have to have more of those molds because you wouldn't be able to wait for one to dry before you started the next one. So if you went out and you got a whole bunch of these, you definitely could do a big pour and have multiple trees that you could use for different tasks that you wanted to do. That's just an idea. And like I said, I think this one would make a good coaster. Or it could make a good decoration if you wanted to put something on the front. So you could actually decorate this up and have like a little forest perhaps with the... Okay, somehow you'd work with this, or so you can use cross molds as well, or even have your letters attached to that once you've painted it up, and then add a ribbon at the back to hang it from the tree. So again, you can use these in lots of different ways. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed the video looking at ResinCrete and seeing what these molds, how these molds turn out. And I'm going to go now and have a bit of a play with these, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.